Hi, I'm Kyle Wilson, former amateur MMA champion with over 10 years experience training across various different martial arts. In this video, I'm going to break down the technique for throwing a Muay Thai Roundhouse Kick. Different martial arts throw the roundhouse kick slightly differently. For example, in kickboxing or taekwondo, they chamber their kick. That means they pick their knee up, and to deliver the roundhouse kick they almost flick their shin out. There's two parts to that motion. In Muay Thai, the kick is thrown as a single motion and the leg almost becomes a solid unit. For example, when delivering the Muay Thai roundhouse kick, the objective should be to get your shin bone to drive through the target as hard as possible, whether that's your opponent's head, ribs, thighs, arms, or so on. The shin bone is generally considered the hardest bone in your leg. Consider it your biological baseball bat. Now I'm going to walk you through the steps so you can throw a fundamentally sound Muay Thai roundhouse kick. Okay, so the first part of the motion to throw in the Muay Thai roundhouse kick is to come up onto the tiptoes of the supporting leg, so the standing leg. By being on the board of the foot, it allows for greater rotation, so we can turn our hips and our upper body into the kick and generate that power. As I've just said, you should consider your shin your biological baseball bat, and when you throw the kick, it's almost like you're trying to slice someone in half. So if I get in my stance here, I kind of lean slightly forward, put my weight over the border of the foot on my standing leg. As this kick begins to leave now, I'm going to start rotating on the border of the foot. So although I start with my toes pointing at my opponent, as the kick delivers, I should have rotated at least 90 degrees or greater, which again helps with turning the hips over. I'll speak about that more in a second. And then once I've landed the kick, I'm going to turn it back to where I started with my toes pointing at my opponent. If I stay flat-footed when I kick, I can't rotate my hips over and it becomes more of a football kick, like so. That's no good. When I'm doing that, I'm just driving my power up into the air. And imagining this is a person kicking up into the ribs and it's sliding up. I want to drive through the ribs. That's how I'm going to cause damage. Let me show you some more examples. Okay, so arguably the most important part for generating power in the Muay Thai roundhouse kick is the turning over of the hips. You'll find that some people do rotate on the board of their foot, but they still kick upwards. That's no good. As I said earlier, we need to imagine that our leg's almost like this long bat or samurai sword. If I'm rotating on the ball of my foot but not turning my hips over, my kick's just gliding up my opponent. I ain't really driving any power through my target. So I need to consider that my leg is like this one unit. Let's say I did have a baseball bat or a samurai sword in my hand, and this is my opponent's ribs. The way I'm going to hurt him is not by slicing it up him. I need to come through. So let's imagine that my hip is the handle of a samurai sword. The shin is the blade. So it should move as one. So I come up on the ball of my foot. As that rotates 90 degrees, I'm also using my hip, which is the handle of the sword, to slice through my opponent. Another fundamental of throwing a good Muay Thai roundhouse kick is keeping your guard up. It sounds simple, but a lot of people don't do this. Now, each arm plays a different part in throwing the Muay Thai roundhouse kick. If I'm throwing the kick with my right leg, then my guarding hand will be my left hand. This should stay glued to my head at all times. What I see a lot with people when they're throwing the Muay Thai roundhouse kick is that they throw the kick and they almost loop it down to the hip and then back up. So if I demonstrate off the left side so you can see better, you'll find that beginners will loop the hand down and back up when they kick. So here's some bad examples of what you should not be doing. Now I understand when you're a beginner, it feels really easy to do that. I'm guilty of doing it a little bit myself, but nowhere near that bad. A good drill to stop you dropping your guard is to get an object and then put it in between your guard hand and your face. Throw the kick. If the object drops, you're not keeping your guard up. If it stays there, you're doing a good job. Let me show you some examples. If I was performing this kick incorrectly, I'm looping my hand, the glove would drop. Okay, so we understand what we should be doing with our guard hand. What about the arm from the same side kick we're throwing? Well, I like to bring it across my face, almost over my opponent's shoulder as I'm throwing the kick. There's a couple benefits to doing it this way. Number one, as I throw the kick, if I bring my arm out over my opponent's shoulder, it's rounding my shoulder, bringing it across my chin. This will save my chin if I get hit with a punch. Also, by bringing the arm across, if they do decide to throw a punch, it could be deflected by my forearm. The other benefit of this is imagining this is a person. By bringing the arm out, I'm obstructing their vision slightly, which is particularly true if you're wearing big boxing gloves. The final reason is that chucking my arm over my opponent's shoulder turns my upper body into the kick. As I've said, let's imagine the leg's a baseball bat and I want to swing that into someone's ribs. I'm going to turn my upper body into that swing, and we should apply the same philosophy to our kicks. Again, let me show you some examples. Now, having explained why I like to bring my arm over my opponent's shoulder when I kick, I should note that a lot of elite level fighters like to whip this arm back. I know a lot of people like to do that because they say it helps them balance, but I would argue it's much better to spend the time getting comfortable kicking with the arm over the shoulder. When you kick and you whip your arm back, you're leaving your face a lot more open to each shot because you don't have a forearm there to deflect the shots. You're not blocking their vision, and you're not turning your upper body into the kick, and therefore not generating as much power. Let me demonstrate some kicks by whipping the arm back, and you can let me know what you think in the comment section below. And finally, the last thing that's worth mentioning is recovering your kicks. As I've said, one of the most common counters to the roundhouse kick is to get a kick caught and get swept. You don't want that. If you throw in your kick quick, don't leave it hanging in your opponent's ribs, admiring your handiwork, which a lot of people do, even if just for a split seconds. Split seconds are going to make fights, okay? So don't think I've landed a great shot and chill out there. Get that kick back to where you started. If I'm standing in sort of a 4 o'clock stance, so my lead leg's at 12 o'clock, my rear leg's at 4, I need to land back in this position as quickly as possible to maintain my balance and be ready to continue fighting. So as I've said, as much as you want to drive this shin through, don't stay there admiring your handiwork. Get back to the position you started in, with your guard up, ready to fight some more. On that note, I hope you learned something from this video and you can take it away to go and practice. If you've enjoyed the video, please give me a like and maybe even a comment. Subscribe for more technical videos like this one. Thank you for your time.